Hello everyone, welcome to Cloud Sailor. In this bite-sized video, I'll be talking about SQS and a concept called as dead letter queue or DLQ. So, what is a dead letter queue? Let's assume that you have a main queue where you are getting messages on a regular basis. And for some unforeseen reason, you're not able to process that messages. So by referring a DLQ to the main queue, what you can do is you can act on those unprocessed messages very efficiently. So DLQ is nothing but another queue which is tied to your main queue. Let's see this in action. So in the demo, I'll be creating a DLQ and a main queue, and I'll show this in action. So I am currently logged into the AWS portal, and I'm in the SQS section, and I'm going to create a queue. So the first step is you just give a name for your queue. So what we will do is we'll create a DLQ first or a dead letter queue first, and then we'll create a main queue, and then I'll explain how this works. So I'm going to name this as my DLQ. I'm not really worried about the settings here specifically. And also I'm going to create a standard queue. There is an option to create a first in first out queue where there is ordering which is maintained. But for the demo, for the simplicity, I'm going to create a standard queue. So I've named it as my DLQ, and I'm going to create a queue. Very simple and straightforward. So if you see here, your DLQ is created. Now the next step is we'll create a main queue. So I'm going to create a main queue again standard. You need to make sure that you have the standard here because you have set the DLQ as a standard one as well. So I'm going to create my main queue. Here, again, not changing anything specifically other than keeping it standard. The main thing you need to make sure is you need to set the dead letter queue for your main queue. So if you click on the dead letter queue section, you have an option to enable it, and you can choose the ARN. And the portal by itself, on itself, will populate the DLQ details for you seamlessly. So you create the DLQ, and then you also define a particular maximum receives window as well, and that number should be between 1 to 1000. So the maximum receives option tells you how many times the message can be received before it's actually moved to the DLQ. Because of some unforeseen reason, you're not able to process those messages, you have received it, but you're not able to process, and then after a certain receives settings, you move it to the main queue, move it to the dead letter queue. So here I'm just giving 3 as a number to make sure the demo is a little faster. So I'm actually going to create the queue as well. So what we have done so far is we created a DLQ, which is a dead letter queue, and we have created a main queue. Okay. To see this in action, what we can do is we can go to the main queue and send some messages. And it's very easy to do it via the portal. So here I'm going to send my first message. Let's say this is a message from Cloud Sailor to SQS, for example, right? So I'm going to send this message. So you can see that the message has been sent and is ready to be received, right? So if you go to your main queue, go to our main queue, you can see that the message is available in my main queue, all right? So what we will do is we will go to, again, the main queue, we will receive the message, and the way to receive the message is actually to poll the queue, right? So we will actually poll for the messages here. And the polling will take a little bit, a couple of seconds. So we'll just wait patiently while the polling is going on. So keep a note of this received count, right? So currently it's actually 1. And when we create the main queue, we have actually set it as 3. So after 3 message receives, and if it's not processed, it will actually be moved to the DLQ. So you can see the polling is in progress. And it's completed, and the receive count is 2, right? Let's do one more polling. And now the received count is 3. Again, we are patiently waiting while the polling progress. A couple more minutes and it should be good. Or rather, a couple more seconds. Now the received count is 3. If you try to poll again, you will not be able to poll because of our settings and the DLQ enablement, this message should have been moved to DLQ because it's not getting processed. You're not able to process that message for some reason. Your maximum receive is set to 3, and it should be moved to a DLQ now. So let's wait for this polling to get completed, and we'll check and see whether there is a message in the DLQ now. All right, so no message is received now. So if again we go back to our queue, I'm not refreshing the screen to make sure I explain the concept really well. So in the main queue, you have one messages which is available after we did the polling. And if you refresh now, technically based on the concept, based on the DLQ settings which we set, message receives to 3. Ideally, this message, since it's not being processed, it should have been moved to the DLQ or the dead letter queue. So if I refresh now, you can see that the message is now available in the DLQ. So if I go to the DLQ, and if I try to pull the messages, you can see that the message is available now, right? So now you can take action on those messages separately from the DLQ. So for example, if you have a Lambda function which needs to be processed from the DLQ, you can easily handle that. So yeah, that's a brief demo wherein I want to explain the concept of DLQ to you all. Hope you find this video useful. Stay tuned for more videos in the future. Thank you.